Hello, I'm Bill Wasch. In this episode of In Our Prime, we're going to consider our hearts, our physical heart and our emotional heart. We'll talk to a Yale cardiologist about heart disease, cook up some great heart-healthy dishes, and talk to some couples about dating. Our sex lives change as we age, so I asked some experts about what people might expect.
We all assume that our parents never had sex, but in fact, in reality, sexual life continues all the way 80s, 90s, whatever. I'm still surprised occasionally in some of my very old patients who bring up the subject, and it's taught me that I need to bring that subject with any patient and do not assume someone's too old.
Research on the changes with sexuality with aging show numerous things. With men, the sexual desire usually is maintained. The time to get to arousal and to have recovery time between arousals is prolonged. Women may have some changes around menopause with decreasing lubrication and decreasing desire because of changes in testosterone levels, but functionally, sexuality is improved many times in women because there's not the fear of pregnancy.
Advertising that promises help with bedroom problems is everywhere. I was curious about what these products are and how they work.
Up until the advent of Viagra, we didn't really have any good way of managing erectile dysfunction. Currently, when someone comes in, usually the first class of drugs I will use are the PD-5 inhibitors. These are drugs that basically work by blocking the breakdown of a substance called nitric oxide. With sexual stimulation, the body releases nitric oxide into the penis. And the purpose of the nitric oxide is to basically relax the blood vessels to allow increased blood flow. The purpose of Viagra-type drugs is to block the enzyme that breaks down the nitric oxide, allows it to hang around longer, and therefore allows a man to have more blood flow into the penis, which therefore results in a fuller erection. Normally we're seeing people coming in their 50s and 60s as beginning to have problems with erectile dysfunction. And again, it's the person who is maybe a little overweight, hypertensive, and has basically the early stages of coronary artery disease.
As Viagra and similar medications gained popularity among men, researchers turned their attention to women's sexual problems.
Sexual intercourse is a couple issue, not a single person issue. And as we began to have these drugs available for men, people began questioning, is there such a thing as female sexual dysfunction? And the whole issue of what's the basis of that? Is there a physiologic basis? We know on the male side it's an adequate testosterone level, and we're beginning to realize that the same issue might be at play in women, and that's where the testosterone patch comes from.
If you're concerned about your sex life, talk to your doctor. Get some good advice.
When I talk to my patients, they frequently think they don't want to tell their spouse that they're worried that they're not attractive to them any longer because, for example, erections may take longer. And it's not that at all, that there's aging. And they frequently are relieved when I tell them these are typical parts of aging. Would you like me to have your spouse come in and we'll talk about them all together?
Talking honestly with your partner about sexual changes can relieve a lot of anxiety for both of you. That usually leads to a better sexual relationship. Keeping our hearts healthy is a good way of keeping our sex lives vital. On a visit to the Yale New Haven Heart Center, I asked Dr. Harlan Krumholtz about his new book, The Expert Guide to Beating Heart Disease.
How do people become aware that they have heart disease?
First of all, obviously, if you feel the crushing chest pain and it doesn't go away within a couple of minutes, call 911. I mean, there's no question about that. If you feel symptoms that you're not sure about, that they're more subtle, definitely call your doctor and check it out. And this is something which you shouldn't wait for in your physical. If your physical is 2 months down the line, don't be thinking that, well, why not? I'll just wait and see what happens. Check it out. It really is important, and it could save your life.
Well, I wonder if you would discuss the 7 strategies that you've mentioned in the book.
When you look at it carefully, it comes down to a few basic approaches with regard to those areas. If you smoke, you ought to quit. You need to stay physically active, and physical fitness and physical activity are really key and critically important. You need to know your blood pressure, and you need to know if that blood pressure is under control. If it's not under control, you need to work with your doctor to make sure it's under control. You need to know your cholesterol level. You need to make sure that's under control. Weight control is critical. And weight actually has such beneficial effects on things like your blood pressure and your cholesterol and so many different aspects of your life. In fact, the way we say it is if weight was a pill, it would be a miracle pill. I mean, for all the things it can do if you get rid of excess weight. These kinds of simple approaches, which really have a lot to do with the way you live your life, can have a powerful effect on helping you live a long and healthy life. And there's only one person who has the greatest vested interest in their success. That's the patient themselves.
18 years ago, heart disease changed Harold Switkus's life.
So tell us what happened originally.
Originally, I was a healthy young man, I thought. I was in Miami Beach, Florida. I went to Tony Romer's for ribs, and we ate everything. I had a couple of cocktails. At that time, I was on a seafood diet.
A seafood diet?
Yes, sir. You know what a seafood diet is?
No, I don't know what a seafood diet is.
A seafood diet is you see it, you eat it. I took a stress test, and I flunked. The next day, I had catheterization, and they said, what you need is bypass. And I said to him, what does bypass mean? It means open heart surgery. I was operated on by Dr. Shaw about 3 days later, and here I am, 18 years later, a healthy young man.
After his surgery, Harold began a moderate cardiac rehab program. Now he works out 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. When he's not pumping iron, Harold volunteers at Yale, counseling other cardiac patients.
You can give them advice, but they don't listen, you know that. You say to someone after they had bypass surgery, you smoke? Yes. You're going to quit? Maybe. What do you mean maybe? Say yes. Well, I can't say yes.
Harold's experience with heart disease taught him a few things about living a long and healthy life.
Lose a couple of pounds, you don't need it. Quit smoking, improve your sex life, and you live to be 90.
Let's see what's cooking in Chef Michel Nischan's kitchen.
Now that we've learned how to beat heart disease from our cardiologist, we're going to learn about a healthy diet. And what have you for us today, Chef Michel?
Well, I have some wonderful things, Bill. We have a great breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all that are heart healthy. We start the morning with a really well-made natural granola. You've got rolled oats, you've got nuts, you have all kinds of great things that are good for heart health, raisins, craisins, powerful with antioxidants, and just, you know, some good quality proteins and the carbohydrates we need. No carb is not good. Good quality carbs are great. And then we have some good organic yogurt here, which really helps our digestive system.
I can't wait to start.
Yeah, it's tasty. And it'll help us assimilate all those good nutrients. Then we have a great vegetarian lunch. What we have here, Bill, is a grilled eggplant and hummus wrap with some spinach and arugula. So again, spinach and arugula, powerful antioxidants, proven very effective in helping us prevent heart disease. And then again, a whole grain wrap bread, those complex carbohydrates that we love.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then the pièce de résistance, we're going to have a wild coho salmon.
Wild, it's environmentally clean.
That's right. And wild salmon I love to use, Bill, because it is the highest source of omega-3 fatty acid in fish.
Right.
Wild fish are the best. Things like fresh mackerel, sardines. Swimming in the wild and eating, you know, smaller fish is what helps them develop the omega-3. It's been proven that wild salmon has more omega-3 fatty acids than farm-raised. So even frozen wild salmon, and salmon freezes beautifully, is best for you.
Fantastic.
So we've got this great coho salmon, and then we have portobello mushrooms, which I like to refer to as the steak of mushrooms. They really are nice and meaty. Many indigenous cultures have been prizing mushrooms for medicinal qualities for centuries.
Right.
And then we have a wonderful fresh green that's still fresh this time of year in February, Bill, and that's kale.
I hate kale.
You hate kale? Well, I'm going to make a believer out of you.
All right.
Because I'm going to cook
My mother
this.
tried for many years.
Yeah, well, your mother didn't have a trick up her sleeve that I had.
All
Or
right.
perhaps she did, but we'll find out.
Okay.
Basically, I love kale, Bill, because it's a really great source of iron. It has also, again, powerful antioxidants. So without further ado, I'm going to get started first with the portobello mushrooms. And you can buy them like this just in the grocery store. They're called portobello caps. You can go to your produce section, and they're available just like this. And I'm just rolling them in a little bit of grapeseed oil.
Oh, grapeseed oil.
Yeah, grapeseed oil, Bill, has a very high flash point. Now, many oils, you know, when you cook with oil and the oil smokes,
right? Yeah.
That means it's past its flash point. It's converting now and creating free radicals, which are this harmful substance that causes our arteries to become satiny and therefore cling to things like calcification and plaque and all those things. So if we don't create free radicals in the cooking process, we're doing our heart a huge favor. So I start with the portobello mushrooms, and it's this simple. We just oil them and we put them on the grill. And then we have this beautiful salmon, and I'm just going to take a little brush here, Bill.
And you use the same on the salmon, too.
Yeah. Grapeseed oil, if you're using high fire, and here's a little tip. A lot of people use extra virgin olive oil, which has a low flash point, and they always wonder why they pay so much when they can't taste it after they cook with it. I say start it with grapeseed oil, finish off the fire with the extra virgin olive oil.
Right.
You're not creating free radicals, and you get to preserve
and you leave
the
it right on that
flavor.
leaf there.
Yeah, I have this on a collard green leaf, and then that allows me to put it on the grill without burning my hand.
Oh, that's
What do you
terrific.
think about that?
Now you're going to cook the kale to make it so good?
That's right, and I'm going to cook it in a way that is pretty unusual, Bill. Generally, what folks will do with kale is they'll braise it and braise it and braise it for a long period of time in water. They're basically boiling it, simmering it, or sautéing it. What I'm doing is, again, using my grapeseed oil. I'm getting a little bit of oil on the leaf. And then right now is about that time.
Oh, boy, look at that.
And
You're
we
going to
just
make a
set
cook
it on.
out of me.
I am going to make a cook out of you, and I'm going to make a cook out of everybody else because, you know, this stuff is so easy, Bill, that anybody can do this at home. These mushrooms take about 5 minutes to cook. The salmon itself takes about 4 minutes to cook, and we'll keep an eye on this. And in the meantime, Bill, I have a wonderfully finished plate just for you.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Right here. The magic of television. So if you'll do me the honors.
You're going to let me try
I'm going to let you
kale?
try some of this. Yes,
You think I'm going to like it?
Well, we'll see. You just give that a little bit of a taste. Yep.
It looks very appealing.
And now,
with
as
that.
you can see, it's a little bit crispy.
Yes,
You're going to
it is.
get kind of like a little bit of a char-grilled flavor to it. Little
Fantastic.
bit of. Isn't that great? Isn't that terrific?
I've never tasted kale like that before.
Well, I'm glad to make a believer out of you.
You sure did. That was just...
Next time you do the beeline to your mom, mention me, would
I
you?
will do that.
Terrific.
Well, thanks for giving us such a wonderful demonstration of how we can eat well. And now we're going to switch to the emotional sides of our heart.
The dating scene can be nerve-wracking at any age. For older people looking for companionship after a divorce or the death of a spouse, it can be a nightmare. A first date activity that encourages conversation can help people relax and get to know each other. I asked Rosalind Gold, a dating facilitator, for suggestions about meeting new people.
Well, I stress body language. Very important. When you stand with your arms crossed and your eyes askew, you are not going to attract anyone. I think a smile, a warming handshake, go up and introduce yourself to people and say, my name is, what is your name? You're not breaking any societal rules if you do that. It's perfectly acceptable.
I asked if he's married. He said, no,
He's not
I'm
married.
not married. I said, oh my God, what a lucky me. So then I asked him another thing, and he said, I won't tell you till you kiss me. So
that's what I said.
That? It was nothing, you know. So we smooched a little bit.
You smooched a little bit, yeah.
And I said, that's all I have? He said, later, you have to wait. So
that's where the spark is starting, you know?
People meet in many different ways, through friends, online dating, church, fundraisers, and senior center events.
We met dancing, and we just clicked instantly. He's very easy to get along with. That's what I like most about him.
She makes me look good. She's like Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. She made him look good walking backwards. She does the same.
Yeah, he keeps me company, because I really don't like being alone. I grew up with a family of 7, and we were all a very close, loving family.
Yeah.
And they're all gone except me.
They're all gone except you.
So now I have a nice little substitute.
And I'm the last of my agents in my family.
But there will come a day.
Many dating experts recommend physical activity, such as playing golf, taking a long walk, or dancing. A first date that includes physical exercise is a wonderful way to have fun, stay healthy, and see how you get along.
Well, I never thought I'd attain this at this age in life.
The kitchen is the heart of many homes, and there are a lot of things that we can do to make cooking easier. The first idea is a cabinet, which I'd like to show you. This is a roll-out cabinet. You can see everything in here, and you can just take your product out, put it on your countertop, and then, of course, we need a little water for the pasta, so we will open this roll-out drawer. You can see everything in here. You don't have to bend down and look underneath the counter to find things. It's very obvious. We take it out, and then we bring it over to the sink. And then I've got this wonderful faucet which can be controlled just with a closed fist. The temperature goes up, and then you turn it on by lifting it. And another thing I like about this kitchen is that the sink and the cooktop are on the same counter. So we just slide this over to the cooktop. And then, I'm really proud of this, we turn on the temperature, and as it goes higher, it gets redder. And we can see that. And that's one of the real problems. It's awfully important to know that your stove and your cooktop is on. And then I have another great idea here. This is a rolling cabinet, which we can pull out, and then we can put our salad on it. Then we open the oven and get the hot rolls, which can be put on there, and this doesn't get damaged from the heat. And then we roll this. You don't have to struggle to carry all of this. If you have anything heavy, it's a problem. And you just roll this across, and then we put our pasta on. These are things that make cooking easier. And here's another story that has lots of heart.
It's very clear our love is here to stay.
For 62 years, Henrietta and Joe Gitlin have kept the music going. They met at a doctor's office on the day before Thanksgiving in 1940. From their first date, they found a rhythm and stayed in step with each other. World War II barely slowed their romance.
He was an officer, so the guard was a sergeant. Joe would salute him and walk out. What could he do? He used to notice a telephone booth, and he'd call me up and say, "Meet me in New York." And I'd hop in on a train and go for a night to see him.
When the war ended and Joe returned home, the Gitlins began their family, raising 2 daughters.
How much did you have when we got married?
You had $8 in the bank, and I had $150. He married me for my money.
Yes.
50 years ago, Joe became a CPA and started his business.
I go in 3 days a week now.
Okay, bye.
I've been retiring for the last 10 years.
Joe and Henrietta love to travel. and on their many trips together, they've learned a few lessons.
We have been married 62 years. I guess we were just comfortable with each other.
You have to be able to laugh at yourself and even laugh at each other and be considerate of each other, respect each other, and respect yourself.
You've got to have heart. Miles and miles and miles of heart. That's just what 2 Senior Corps volunteers give every day. Miles and miles and miles of heart. Congestion and confusion are common problems at airports, so finding a friendly face and some information can be a relief. RSVP, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, places ambassadors in airports across the country. Ed DeRosia volunteers at Connecticut's Bradley International Airport.
The Connecticut ambassadors are volunteers. We're all kind of old people. I'm only 82 myself, but we've been working here at the airport for 25 years. I've been here personally for 16 years. Right in the middle on the left.
I see it. Thank you.
Now, the questions we get here are varied. They may ask us how to get to their hometown or some other place. We have all kinds of maps, and most of us are familiar with the state.
I ask you a question. We're going over West Haven.
We also tell them how to get to downtown, how to get to the rental cars, how to get to the motels, where to buy a stamp. But we have all that information, and we can spit it right out for them. And we've been helping these people for 25 years. Just now I had a woman, she says, my sister's coming in. Well, how will I know? Well, I says, is she a big, fat, tall, skinny woman with straight, curly hair? She said, yes, that sounds like her. But apparently it fit, because later on she came back just a few minutes ago, and she says, that was her, she's here, so she was happy. Last year we did 6,800,000 passengers in this airport. Next year we should do over 7 million. And each time as we grow, we find it just that much more enjoyable. Is there any direction I could give you right now?
Foster grandparents serve as mentors, tutors, and caregivers for at-risk children in schools, hospitals, and daycare centers. Nationally, foster grandparents helped more than 275,000 youngsters last year.
I started about 5 years ago, and I did it because I love children, and I like to be active, and I have a theory that older people that sit around and do nothing soon lose the ability to think and move, and I just want to be active.
Let's go over and check our answers.
It has been an education to me. I have learned a lot each and every day. These children are so far advanced in the 2nd grade than I was in the 2nd grade. But what really started him off, boys and girls, was Rosa Parks. Well,
Gertrude Blanks loves to tell stories. Before she became a foster grandparent, Gertrude was locally famous as a storyteller at her public library.
The bus driver went up and got in the seat and drove to the police station and ran in and got police, and they dragged her out. The story went all around the town, and Martin Luther King heard about it, and he said, oh, we've got to do something. This is terrible. This doesn't make sense. You're welcome, sweetheart. Thank you. The greatest gift I get every once in a while is a hug. I almost got you.
Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a long and healthy life. Let's close with some thoughts from Ellen Rita Evans.
In days of old. In days of old, when knights were bold and virgins were still heard of, love had a different meaning, as I'm sure that you're aware of. Love was pure and really chaste, no touching, above or below waist. Only loose women did awful things then, and that was much to their parents' chagrin. Things seemed to go wrong, and no one seemed to care. What happened then just doesn't seem fair. Men thought of women as just for their use, no love in their hearts. It was more like abuse. Things need to change back to those times in the past, to the time when love meant true caring, when love in one's head didn't mean in a bed, and sex wasn't all folks were sharing.
This program was made possible by
AARP Foundation, helping people find jobs, fill out their tax forms, making our communities better, helping to enhance our quality of life as we age. AARP, the power to make it better.
Major support for In Our Prime, also provided by Massonicare, with additional funding from Qualidime and Sunrise Senior Living.
We are PBS.